Hello, everyone who might be watching and here. I have officially gone live, and I'm online right now, here to talk about some science. So I'm not actually sure if you are able to see this, which is very strange. So feel free to, it's over there, it's over here. Say hi and like and come on in and stop on by. I'll get started in about 30 seconds as I wait for a couple people to come on in. Woohoo, there's people here. Anna can see me. Anna, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? I want to make sure my mic works so that we can keep going. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Wow, we've got people from all around the globe here. This is exciting, and you can hear me. Fabulous. Before I get started, I just want to show off this very neat rock for those of you who are into very neat rocks. This is chalcanthanite, and you can actually grow this. So for those of you who are interested in growing this, I'll be doing a video later about how to grow something that cool. I know, right? So anyway, today we are here to talk about something very neat. And if you live in the freezing Midwest, which where I'm from at the moment, this actually happens quite a bit. I've got people, this is so cool, we've got people from Minnesota, we've got people from around the globe right now. This is crazy. Feel free to type in, say where you're from. This is so cool. Today's topic is something called cryoseisms. Has anyone ever heard of that before? It sounds pretty crazy. They actually happen right here in Minnesota, and if you're in Wisconsin, there too. Lauren, I know you're out in Colorado. Sorry, you don't get them. I'm not actually sure. I know people up in Canada get them, not really in the UK though. Sorry guys. If you know anything about Latin though, cryo, oh, I'm gonna go this way. Cryo means frost or ice or cold, and seism means shaking, like an earthquake. So if you figured it out, yeah, cryo means an ice or frost, and seism earthquake. We got ice earthquakes going on in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and even in Canada. How cool is that? These things even register on the Richter scale. I know, it's okay. We're going to be okay. We're going to be safe because they don't go that high. They're only about a 5 on the Richter scale. Not going to do a lot of damage. But let's learn a little bit about where they're found, how they are created, and where we can go out and discover them as well. So there's 2 main types that we'll get around here. You're going to get some that are found on the ice and some that are found on the ground. Don't mind my really fun pictures. The ice ones are probably what you're most familiar with. If you've ever been ice fishing before, I've been there. If you're ever sitting out on the ice, just enjoying it, it's nice, it's relaxing, and all of a sudden you hear something that sounds like a gunshot or a cannon, and you feel the ground or the ice move underneath you. That is a cryoseism. It's actually the ice breaking apart and expanding and causing somewhat of an earthquake. Now on ice, you're on the ice. It's just a frost quake. But when you're on the ground, it's much cooler and a little bit more dangerous. So how are these things actually formed? How do we get cryoseisms? Well, let's take a look. Again, enjoy my pictures. We'll start off with number 1. First, let's see. Oh, there we go. First, you need the ground. Nice guy, enjoying. It's on the ground. Pretty cool. Next, you need moisture. You typically need rain. Snow isn't going to help this. So when we get rain in like December, we've gotten rain in January, moisture, lots and lots of moisture to seep down into the ground, get into all those cracks and crevices. You know, when it's cold out, the ground freezes, and then every now and then we get a little bit of a thaw, and you get those little cracks, and the water can seep in right there. That's what's going on. So the rain comes down, or there's a melt. We've already had a pre-December, pre-January melt. It was warm enough. The road, we had snow, the roads all cleared, and it melted, and everything was wet, and you thought, we're not actually going to get winter this year because everything's melting. That was what set us up for some cryoseisms this week. So we had the moisture. We had the ground. Step 3, quickly dropping temperatures. This guy doesn't look too happy about the quickly dropping temperatures. Did you know that it got really cold this week? In case you are not living in Minnesota or Wisconsin, it got really cold really fast. Like, at some points, it dropped 3 to 5 degrees in a period of 10 minutes. That's really fast. That's like crazy fast. That's like you go to school and you're feeling good and you come out and you suddenly need jackets because the air hurts your face. And I know those of us who live in Minnesota and Wisconsin, we live here where the air hurts our face so that we don't have to put up with giant boa constrictors and crazy spiders the size of my hand. But still, it kind of is a bummer when go outside and air's quite miserable. But it got really cold really fast. And so all that moisture that came down and fell into all those cracks, it suddenly froze. Now, you all know what happens when water freezes, right? It expands. I hope all of you were yelling, expands, really loud. I can't hear you from your side of the computer, so I'm hoping that's what you're yelling. Expands! It does. Water expands, and as it expands, it moves things out of the way. It turns to ice, and it pushes stuff out of the way that is in its way. So you've got the ground. You've got moisture. You've got, I'm on the other side here. You've got the quickly dropping temperatures, which are causing all that moisture to suddenly freeze and expand, and then you have a boom. It is literally a giant crack, like an earthquake, the ground splitting, and that is causing the boom sounds. Now, depending on how big the fracture of the earth is, will depend on how large the sounds are. It will depend on how much shaking is involved, how much movement is going on. It all has to do with how much water has just frozen and how big that crack is. And then you have that sonic boom. So, a couple things to talk about real quick. First of all, it's actually better to have no snow. The more snow you have, the more of an insulator it happens to be. It keeps the ground very warm, which, warm is a relative term at this point, but it keeps the ground warmer. Having snow. And we don't have a lot of snow here right now. We don't have a lot. We did get a few inches, about 4 to 6 or so, but there was a lot of melting with that first round of snow we got. We don't have, the 12 to 14 to 18 to 24 inches that we normally have at this time of year. And that sudden burst of cold just caused all that moisture just to freeze instantly and then boom, crack apart. So if you're going to be going out looking for or listening for cryoseisms, you're going to want to be in a place where there's not a lot of snow. A lot of snow will cause that ground to be still moist, and it won't freeze as fast, and there won't be those sudden breaks. Damage from cryoseisms, not a lot of damage has ever really been reported, but we'll talk about that in our next little segment moving forward, that yes, there has been some, and I will send you to links where you can see some of the really cool people from Wisconsin who have reported damage from cryoseisms. Richter level, like I said before, doesn't get super high. The highest cryoseism ever reported was at a Richter scale of about a 5. That's not a lot. That's kind of like If you live right next to the train tracks and the train goes by and your house kind of shakes a little bit, that's a 5. Not a lot of damage. That's maybe a little less than a 5. What was the other really good example to use? It's just kind of like your house shaking a little bit. The train tracks are kind of the best one, unless you've ever been, right next to a battlefield when they're doing the Civil War reenactment and the cannons are going off. That kind of shaking, that would be really great. Level 4, level 5 Richter scale. Not a lot of damage is going to happen. Your house might shake a little bit. You might feel the ground shake a little bit. You might think it's really neat or really terrifying. I'm not sure which. Depends on if you're really excited about these things, like I am. Also, it's not an earthquake. It's not considered an earthquake. Earthquakes are very deep in the layers of the earth. For those of you who've been in my rock club, we talked about the layers of the earth. These cryoseisms are surface level. All this freezing in the water and the moisture, it's all way up on top. It's all in the crust. Not even like sub-crust level, just really top surface level. Earthquakes, where the epicenters are, they're way down. So when that part of the earth breaks apart, it's going to cause much more damage in a widespread area. Whereas cryoseisms, not a lot of damage, and it's very localized. It's going to stay very close to that epicenter. They're still going to be high intense. You're going to notice, you might be able to hear it, and if you're really close and it's a really big one, it will sound like a cannon going off, or one of those really big fireworks, the ones they start the show off with that don't do anything except make a loud sound and go boom really loud just to make you all jump. That's what it might sound like. Some cryoseisms might not even be monitored by seismographs. They just might. The only way we know they exist is because people report them. The majority of them that get reported are actually 911 calls thinking that there's shooting going on in the neighborhood, and it's not. It's the ground cracking open. So one second, I'm going to quick drink from my fabulous dino glass. You should all have a very cool dino glass like this. This guy's awesome. Yep. All right, so where can you find cryoseisms? Well, lots of different states have reported them, including, you've got Connecticut, I've got friends in Connecticut, so if you're out there, Connecticut, Michigan, Ohio, New York, Vermont, Maine, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Canada as well have all reported cryoseisms. The very first one was reported in 1818 in the northern part of the United States. Yes, in Minnesota, just so you know. The more frequent ones have come the last few years through these huge cold snaps that we've gotten. So there were a lot reported in 2014 and 15, and actually quite a few reported these last couple days. If you look in the news, when we end here, feel free to go off and look in the news, take a look. A lot have been reported in Illinois these last couple days and in Iowa. A couple in Minnesota, just not as widely reported. So anyway, what does it feel like? Well, we talked about that a little bit. You got the house shaking. You're not doing a crazy back and forth like this. It's not intense, but might feel like a train's going by your house. What does it sound like? Well, most of them are actually heard at night. So take some time tonight, especially if you're out away from the city. Take some time tonight, sun goes down, when things are a little quieter, and go stand outside for a while and take a listen. Most of the noise, when it goes down at night, you're going to be able to hear them a lot better because there'll be lots of little micro ones going on. But it could sound anything like a popping sound, like little fireworks going off. You might hear like a tree falling or snapping. Might sound like gunshots, might sound like a cannon. Could be anywhere from that range. Little itty bitty popping sounds to giant cannons. Last night, actually, I was pretty sure we heard one out here. I thought it was the furnace going. No, it was just the outside and back, and it was nice and loud and really exciting, actually. I was like, yes, this is so cool. As for damages, You're not going to notice house damages. It's just not that big of a deal. The ground can certainly crack, and because of this, driveways can be affected. Actually, there's a video on YouTube if you take a look. A really nice guy, a farmer in Waupun, last 2014, reported that there was a loud cannon-sounding fire, and he went outside, and his driveway had a 100-foot crack in it. They do shift the earth, so there will be cracks in the earth. The biggest issue that these actually cause are to underground pipes and utilities. There have been causes where the ground will actually shift or crack enough that it will cause natural gas leaks and service disruptions to your internet or your electricity. So be prepared that that could happen. But the really nice thing to know is it's getting warmer out as of like right now, which is fabulous. So we're kind of on the end of any of these cryoseisms. Oh my goodness. But mainly, you're not going to notice much. Maybe the house shifts. You might see a little bit of shaking, but I think you're all right. Currently, a lot have been reported these last couple days. As I said earlier, Illinois has reported them the 30th and the 29th. Go back, take a look. They've got some great reports, some great videos on YouTube as well and in the news. The biggest ones that have come in the recent past have been 2014, 2015, when that last huge cold front struck, and we were frozen, kind of like we were these last couple days, and we didn't have school for a couple days in a row. And the governor shut down the whole state of Minnesota. Anyone remember that? I do. I was teaching. I remember that. There were quite a few of them. So take a look at some videos. You'll actually be able to hear what it sounds like. And one of the biggest ones, because I know I've got a Canadian watching right now, 2014, January 6th, in Calgary and Toronto, a huge series of what sounded like gunfire popping consistently for about 10 minutes went on in the cities, and people were calling in 911, really panicked. Turns out, no, just the ground shifting, just a whole bunch of cryoseisms because it was so cold. But it made national news, which is pretty exciting. I hope you enjoyed these last 17 minutes. I know I talked really fast. Before I go, feel free to write any questions down, and I will happily answer them. And feel free, if you like this, I will maybe do this a couple more times because, hey, if you're going to watch and learn, I would love to teach you more things. I was really excited to find out about cryoseisms because they are here, and this explains all that sound popping, especially when you're on the lake and you can kind of feel the ice move and you hear that. What is that called? It's a cryoseism. So feel free to ask a whole bunch of questions and I will answer them. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it made your last snow day before going back to school a little less dull. And I hope to see you all soon or hear from you. Bye.